What's up guys, my name's Nate, welcome back to Real Steel Projects. Today's going to be a really cool video as we're kicking off 2023 in the right way, straight into a Fallout melee weapons review. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge this awesome new studio. It has been a huge work in progress. I'm so grateful for everybody that's given us a hand in building this. We've still got a little bit to go till it's completely finished, but it's going to be a really cool space for us to create this type of content in the future, and then some other projects that we're in the works at the moment. So don't be a stranger, make sure you keep checking the channel out for these types of videos as they're going to be popping up pretty regularly, hopefully. Also, as we're starting the new year, I want to say a massive thank you to all 55,000 subscribers. That is a crazy number. At the start of 2022, we had about 5,000 subscribers, and I'm super grateful for every one of those people, but to think that we're at 55,000 at the start of this year, that's just crazy to me. So thank you so much for everyone who's been on this journey with us. I'm so excited to see where we're going to be at the start of 2024. Let's get started with the video. New Vegas was an incredible game, and according to my list, there was 34 melee weapons. Now, as this video would be a mile long if I covered all of them in one, maybe we'll split this up as a series if people enjoy this type of content. As some of these melee weapons are just sort of like a post-apocalyptic take on like everyday items such as like a golf club and a baseball bat, we're going to focus today on more of the unique styles. And believe me, New Vegas has plenty of them. Now, I think it's important to address right away that I don't actually have too much formal training when it comes to melee weapon combat. However, as you can see by some of these things in front of me, I'm a professional prop builder in real life. That means that my day-to-day is normally spent building swords and other video game weapons like axes and this type of thing. And although that doesn't 100% translate over to skills with an unarmed weapon, you do get a pretty good feel of what's practical and what's not. It does give us our criteria for today's video though. We're going to be looking at practicality side of things and then the artistic side of things. Some fantasy weapons are totally ludicrous practicality wise, but they look awesome, so you can judge it in an artistic kind of way, and that gives it some points. I don't really have too much of an official rating system. I'm sure you guys get the general vibe of what I think about things. And so with that said, the first one we're going to look at is the rebar club. Now, I can't give you my first impressions as I'm a massive fan of this series, but looking at just a picture of it right now, I can tell you that I'm loving the art style straight away. So what I basically got here is 3 different pieces of what looks like maybe even 1-inch rebar going into a leather wrapped handle with a big heavy concrete block at the end. Now, even if this was 1-inch or even 1/2-inch rebar with just a single leather wrap on it, that alone, one piece, would be a very, very formidable weapon. However, in true Fallout style, they've upped the ante, they've added that big concrete block at the end. From what I remember, this was mainly used by the super mutants in the game, but I'm pretty sure that the player character could even equip this weapon. So if you judge it on what a super mutant can do, this is probably a fairly reasonable weapon to use. That giant heavy weight at the end, so you got the mechanical advantage there. The leather wrap handle is a nice touch, although it's probably not super practical when you consider what you're looking at. Artistically, it fits perfectly into the Fallout universe. However, when it comes to practicality side of things, especially for the player character, there's just no way that you could officially swing this and use it as a weapon. Having something that is extremely slow and heavy to swing, if you miss your target, or even if you connect with your target, it's going to be a long time before you can bring that up and try and go again. So things like historical warhammers quite often had a fairly small head to them with a long handle to give you that mechanical advantage. So overall, I dig it. I think it's a really cool example of like a post-apocalyptic weapon, especially when you've got things like mutants that are going to be able to wield something so heavy. It'd be really cool to see that in the upcoming TV show or any other type of live action Fallout we might see in the future. I don't know what score to give it. Let's give it 6 megatons out of 10. We'll go with that. Now we're going to have a look at a bladed example. I'm going to go with the standard machete that you get in the base game. So what I love about the machete is that they've used a lawnmower blade and they've attached it to a handle. It completely defeats the purpose of what a machete is actually designed for, but I totally dig what they were going for here. So for those that don't know, a machete is normally a very thin blade, about a medium length, sometimes a little bit longer. And in its usual form, it's used for things like cutting through brush, long grass. Although it has been used historically quite a lot actually as a weapon, its original intent is not actually that. It's used for clearing through brush and stuff. You see some Legion Smiths at their base camp grinding their machetes on the grindstone, so it is quite possible that they take off a lot of that metal and bring it down to that kind of true machete. And that does make total sense because, again, like we spoke about before, you want the lightest thing possible. Now when it comes to the handle, the example I've got here isn't super great, but it does look like maybe some driftwood has been lashed to the machete with a belt or a leather strap. I mean, it's pretty rough. It's probably going to hurt when you hit something with it, if not break altogether. especially if that blade's not super sharp. It's just going to put all that leverage right on that spot where it looks like it's going to break, as it is. But it does look very post-apocalyptic. I dig this one too. I think the New Vegas art team had a really good go at incorporating what we would think is modern day practical with the post-apocalyptic feel. We'll give it a 5 Volt Boys out of 10. Alright, this one still counts even though it is a throwing weapon. This is the throwing spear that you get in the base game again. Now I love this design. This design is a really cool one. It actually is kind of a shame that the only way you can use this is by throwing it, because looking at the lists of melee weapons, it's probably the most practical one to use as an offensive weapon. So historically, the spear was the king of the battlefield. It gave the soldier a lot more reach than they would have had with, say, a sword. And then pointy stick normally wins when it comes against unarmored opponents. Even armored opponents, in some cases, the spear was just the king of the battlefield. This isn't a super long spear. Some Roman examples were giant, 10 plus feet long. This one looks like it's maybe only about 5 or 6 feet. We have a nice wooden handle. It looks like probably a broom handle or anything else a wasteland could get their hands on. It's got a generous amount of padding where you grip to throw the spear. And then we have some sort of jagged, horrible, sharpened metal that's been salvaged from somewhere in the wastes. It's very fallout in design. It's very haphazard, kind of thrown together by the survivors. And it makes total sense for someone like the Caesar's Legion, where they're equipping an army, to have something so easily mass produced. I just really like the design. I think it's a good example of a fallout weapon. Again, the New Vegas dev team really knocked it out of the park with just about everything in this game. I'm gonna give it about a 6 bobbleheads out of 10. A lower ranking only because it would have been great to be able to use this as actually a standard melee weapon and not just a throwing weapon. But it's great, so we'll go on to the next one. Alright, next up is Chance's Knife. This is the sort of unique variant of the standard combat knife from Fallout New Vegas, and I'm pretty sure Fallout 3 as well. Now what makes it unique is it's got the sort of blood-stained, grisly looking blade. And for those super nerds like me, you would know that this is involved in the comic that came out before Fallout New Vegas. It kind of details some of the events that led up to right before the game starts. Now those of you with a good taste in 80s movies realize that this is actually a fairly close replica of Rambo's knife from Rambo First Blood. It does have some differences. Rambo's knife on the I guess you'd call it a cross guard, on the little guard on the knife, it had a Phillips head screwdriver on one side and then a flathead screwdriver on the other side. It's designed as a survival knife. How practical that is well, it's a bit gimmicky, but it was part of that prop. This isn't present in Chance's version or any of the other versions of the Fallout style combat knife. But it's a pretty close replica. It looks like it has more of a K-bar style grip to it. Probably not the leather disc type, maybe the polymer grip that you would see in some variants of the K-bar knife. But it's kind of based on that sort of US Army fighting knife design. It's got the clip point, sort of Bowie style blade. It has the serrated saw on the back, which would be more for survival purposes rather than fighting. It's totally usable design. When it comes to practicality, it totally fits the artistic style of Fallout New Vegas as well, so kind of knocks out the park in both ways. It's a way more practical design than the lawnmower blade that we saw earlier. It's a totally usable knife. This would be something that you would expect some sort of survival prepper to maybe use. I actually built a Rambo style knife a long time ago, like when I first started the Instagram page. And that's partly because I love this in Fallout New Vegas. So I know it from Rambo, but when you play the game, it's pretty recognizable. So I got to do both in one go. So when it comes to a score for that one, I'm going to give it a 48 Sunset Sarsaparilla bottle caps out of 50. It's a pretty good knife that you could expect to be used in this kind of setting. Alright, this next one's a total classic, and this is my favorite version of the Super Sledge in any of the Fallout series, and that's the unique variant Oh Baby. Oh Baby. So this weapon's totally and utterly ridiculous, so I'll get that straight off out of the bat. It would be nearly unwieldable, it would be so damn heavy. Especially the way you see it compared to the character when you're holding it. Totally ridiculous. It was made of a super lightweight alloy, which I'm not sure if that was the intent. It would still weigh, I mean, even out of titanium, this thing would still weigh way too much to make it practical. It's got those big gnarly flanges on it, the two strike faces, which would weigh, just holding them would weigh a lot. And there's two of them strapped to this handle. I will say though that I way prefer the Fallout 3 Fallout New Vegas design of the Super Sledge over the Fallout 4 version. Just proper version of the Fallout 4 one. Although it's cool, I like that it's got the rocket incorporated into it. I can see the thought process of where that would be. It would give you extra force when using it. The fact that you're gripping the gas tank portion of this, and I want to put up a picture so you can see, there is a tiny little joint that holds these two pieces together. Even without the force of the rocket firing this, just striking this ordinarily would probably snap that joint. And for anyone that's ever seen what happens to a compressed gas cylinder when you snap the regulator off, you don't want to be anywhere near that, let alone holding it. But the Fallout New Vegas version doesn't have that stupid joint, but it looks great, especially in a world where super mutants exist. This thing rules. I love the way it looks. It is not practical. It's going to get a 2 on the practicality scale, as it would weigh way too much to be wielded by any one human. Although, as I'm saying, I'm realizing that power armor is a thing in this universe. Without power armor, it's getting a 2, and with power armor, it's gonna get a 10. Because, yeah, if you could wield it, in theory, it would be super devastating to whatever you're gonna hit. The Oh Baby version, when it comes to looks in particular, is gonna get a 10, because I love this style. I love that some of the plush leather grip is stripped back and you can see the bare metal, and I'm loving the whole rusted over the whole thing look. That makes total sense. It's supposed to be 200 years after the war. I can't imagine there was a lot of oiling going on in some of this metal, so loving the rust. It also tells me that this had an iron content, so the metal was likely steel, and that's why it's rusting, which further makes my point about how heavy the damn thing would have been. But whatever, it's going to get a high score. I can't remember what I said before. High score for the looks and a low score for practicality and the string power armor, and then it comes together to give you a score of 5 out of 6 injured limbs. So that's pretty high on that list. Alright, last one I want to cover in this video, and I really appreciate you making it all the way to the end for this final one, is the Blade of the East, the bumper sword, the Blade of the West. I'm going to blend them all together because it looks like the biggest difference is the number plate or the lack of. So first I want to touch on the artistic side of this design, because it's a really, really cool and unique design. As the name would suggest, it's utilised the bumper of a car, so it's got, like, you know, the number plate on the bumper itself that's been sort of flattened out and fashioned into a blade. And it's something that you'd see a lot in the Fallout universe. You know, there's a lot of burned out, wrecked out cars, and it makes total sense that someone would try and salvage whatever they can from this. Even a sword, if you could believe, from the bumper. Practicality wise, bumpers are only mild steel. It's probably been chrome plated, so it's probably not the best material to use for a sword. But having said that, you've seen some other things used as a weapon in this universe, so it's not unrealistic to assume that you just use whatever you can get your hands on. When it comes to the design, it's not too crazy. I know I said before about having the giant proportions make things sort of unwieldy, but the design's not too bad. You know, like a bumper is only going to be about 1.6 millimeters thick, so you know, fairly thin material anyway. And then with it being flattened out, a wide, thin, sharp edge would be pretty effective at cutting, especially as it seems to taper up to a pretty broad sort of geometry. It would make total sense. And it's got that long handle too. You'd probably find that you could get some effective cuts with this, although you would probably be sharpening it a lot due to it being, like I said, a mild steel. The design's great. I really like the number plates on the bumper sword variant. I know the Blade of the East and the West don't have that, but it's a nice touch. I'm glad they didn't take the number plate off. This piece I'm going to give 151 out of 150 carry weights. It's over encumbered you, but it is a really cool design, and I guess it would be practical, you know, for at least the first couple swings. That's going to wrap it up on today's video, guys. Before I give you the normal YouTube spiel, once again, I just want to thank everybody who stuck with the channel. I know that uploading here has been fairly sporadic, and I know I keep promising it, but I really would like to bring more content in this form, especially with the new camera equipment, which I hope you're enjoying, and the new studio to the YouTube channel. It seems like a missed opportunity not to be able to bring more of this type of content to you guys. So if you liked it, please, please, please leave a like. You have no idea just how much power you hold by just hitting like on a video. The YouTube analytics can be pretty cruel. All of these social medias can be. It's funny how much just 1 or 2 likes can really boost the performance and totally change how a video performs. So if you could go ahead and do that, that would be awesome. If you enjoyed the content, leave a comment down below. What would you like me to see me review next? Is there another type of video game? Do you want to see more from this game? It's got heaps more stuff I'd like to talk about. Maybe Fallout 3 or the early ones, some of the newer ones. I'd love to tackle some of the Skyrim weapons again. I've done some short form content similar to this type. I'd like to explore that more in long form. After hitting 55,000 last year, it would be a giant goal to hit 100,000 subscribers this year. So if you're not subscribed and you like this kind of content, maybe you want to see some build videos, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you hit the bell, that'll be extra kind of you, but no obligations. But most importantly, thank you so much for watching, guys. Until next time, cheers. A lot of people have helped bring this sort of a lot of people have given me a really cool way to kick this right into it. I can see the thought process of where that would be. It would give you extra force when using it.